So boys, welcome back to today's video. Obviously, we're taking over Leicester. It was put up on the community page asking what Premiership team you would like me to take over. It was very close between Southampton and Leicester. Leicester pipped it by 1%. Look, obviously, Leicester at one point had a decent team. Won the Premiership. They've won a few trophies here and there, but kind of fell off. Obviously, their team is starting to age out a little bit. They do have some young talent in the team, but obviously, it's not up to a Premiership level. Otherwise, they wouldn't be sitting nearly rock bottom of the league with 17 points. We are currently media prediction to be 18th in the league, so things are not looking too great. On top of that, we also have zero transfer budget for the first season, so I'm gonna have to sell people to basically bring anybody in. Obviously, I would love to play five at the back, but we have to see how good our backline is. I know a few of the players with me watching English football. Look, I know a few of the players that are in the team. They do have a pretty decent keeper in Mads Hermansson. Obviously, he's only 23 years old. Look, he's not the best keeper in the world, but he's pretty solid all around. Good mentality, consistent, 23 years old. One of their best players in the squad is actually set up as Ricardo Pereira, but obviously him being 31 this year, but he does have a good mentality, consistent, and once again enjoys the big games. He's worth 21 to 22 million, and yeah, Tottenham are interested in him, so this could be one we could look to move on. Like I said, because when Football Manager says you're over 30, it means you're pretty much dead. In the backline, of course, they do have Caleb Okoli. Once again, 6'2", really rock solid with regards to like just a big physical force. He's not playing at a Premiership level yet, but he will get up there. Look, enjoys the big games, consistent, and has a good mentality, and he's still only 22. In the backline, of course, they do have Wout Faes. Look, I do like him. I think he's just a little slow. But if he's playing on a back 3/back 5, I think he'll be a lot better. If he was part of the two centre backs, we may have a bit of a problem just due to his pace. But I think with him playing alongside two other centre backs, he should be pretty solid. Then we do have, of course, young Luke Thomas, who's English, which is going to help with registration, but he's also only 23. Then we have Wilfred Ndidi, a fantastic centre midfielder. Is a little injury prone, but hopefully that doesn't hinder him too much. And then Boubakary Samora, I think that's how you pronounce his first name. Once again, pretty similar with regards to like stats to Ndidi, so it's good to have like two really good solid centre midfielders. He's also currently wanted by the Saudi League, so that could be a bit of a problem going down the line. Then, of course, they do have young, explosive Abdul Fatawa. I think they got him from Sporting, didn't they? Yeah, they did. Dude, for 14 million, that's a pretty good deal. Once again, not currently playing at a Premiership level, but he's only 20 years old. Does have good potential, and like I said, he is absolutely rapid. And then, of course, we do have Facundo Buonanotte. He's basically on loan from Brighton for the season. Look, very good player. One I would like to bring in full time because he has really good potential. But the price tag's a little rough, boys. 75 to 111 million. I don't know. Yeah, they don't have an optional fee in there. Then, of course, the man, the myth, the Premiership legend, Jimmy Vardy. Look, people can joke around and say what they want about Jimmy Vardy, but the man has been consistent. He's also been super loyal to Leicester. Like, if you look how long he's been at this club, that's a long time. And I like Vardy. Look, he works hard, and let's be honest, that man knows how to stick the ball in the back of the net. But saying that and how much hard love we have for Jimmy Vardy, he is also 37 years old. So at some point, we are going to need to replace him. Don't think we need to replace him straight away because, like I said, we have zero in the transfer budget. So until we can move some players around and maybe sell some players on, Vardy will probably more likely be our striker for the season. But on the left-hand side, we also do have Victor Christensen. He's also only 21 years old. Not playing at a Premiership level yet, but he has a good mentality. He's super consistent, and he has some very good stats. He's also valued at 36 to 50 million. We also have young Oliver Skipp. He's only 23 years old. He's also English, so it's going to help with registration. Then we do also have Harry Winks. He's English, going to help with registration. A little injury prone, probably not going to start, but like a really good squad player. So then looking at the team, I don't know if this is the formation I'm going to settle on. This is just kind of what I was looking at. Jimmy Vardy's a really good like pressing forward. He works hard. He's got a good engine. And I was like, what's probably the best place to put him in? But the only thing is, these two on the other side of him are not absolutely lethal yet. They're still very young, very inexperienced. So we're going to have to test this. I may start off with this and then kind of tweak it as we go along. But this is pretty much how I would set out the team if I was taking control. Hermansson, Cody. I also forgot to show you him. Connor Cody, look, he's 31. One we definitely need to replace because honestly, if I'm looking at Connor Cody in FM, he's more of like a defensive midfielder. He's not a great centre back because he, one, doesn't have any pace. He's not fantastic in the air. But in a back three, he may be a little better. But for the meantime, obviously, our choices are very limited. So this is who I'm going to play. Thomas, Ndidi, Samora, and then Pierre Fatua, that dude from Brighton, and then Jimmy Vardy. Obviously, we have all these players down here. A vast majority of them, these ones, AU, I would probably look to move on. Look, He's 32 years old. He's only worth 8.8 to 9.6. This will probably go down as the season starts. We'll probably only get about 3 to 5 million for him. Then we also do have this guy, Arjan Ricky. Look, inconsistent. He's a little injury prone. He's not fantastic. There's no fucking way this man's only 21 years old. He looks older than me, and I'm in my 40s. He's had a rough childhood if he's only 21. Then we do also have Reed in there, but he's 31, going to be 32 this year. He's worth 13 to 16 million. These are ones I may keep around the squad, obviously for squad depth, but if I can get a wee bit of money for them, I would like to kind of move him on. But he is handy because he can play on both sides, so he may stick around to be a good squad player. He's also got good teamwork, good work rate, consistent, enjoys the big games, got a good mentality. And then big Yannick Vestergaard. Look, this is just one of those things. He's so fucking slow. Yeah, he has a ton of experience, but Football Manager, you also have to understand, in the Premiership, strikers are very fast. And if you have a centre back with 8 acceleration and 8 pace, it doesn't matter how good he is, how strong he is he's just gonna get overrun. Like, he really is. It is unfortunate because, like, early, he's 6'6", he can play with both feet. He's one I may keep around for a wee bit of squad depth. I don't think we're not gonna get 11 to 12 million for him. When the season starts, we'll be lucky to get like 2.5 to 4 million if we're lucky, because he's 31 years old. But this is the squad I'm pretty much looking at. Obviously, we don't know who's going to come in for who. I'm hoping one of the Saudi League comes in and just offers us like crazy money for one of their players. Because obviously, I can't even loan players in because we have no money. We have no wage bill. So I can't really do that. So I'm going to go tinker around, try and sell some players that are surplus their requirements and try and bring a wee bit of cash in. I'm hoping we can sell somebody. So we were actually able to offload quite a few amount of players, which is fantastic. The revenue we brought in was really, really good. The first person out the door was Samari. Obviously, the Saudi League, when they come knocking, you have to answer. They give us 30 million for him. I said no at the start. He wanted to leave, so he ended up a wrangle little deal. Then another player off to the Saudi League. I don't know what we're going to do in Football Manager if they ever take the Saudi League out. We're all fucked. We're never going to be able to sell players. So I did sell Harry Winks on. Starts off at 27 million, works its way up to 34 million. Look, a really, really good deal for a player that I think is kind of bang average for the Premiership. Look, he's good for our club. A relegation club, he's a good player, but like, I want to take us a wee bit further than that, and like, this is a fantastic deal. Then the next one out the door was Mamvididi. Of course, went to the Saudi League again. We got a total of 15 million for him. So with all those transfers going out the door, I think it worked out, what, about 65 million, give or take, and then obviously we're going to get some money through installments and games played and stuff. So I think we sold a total of probably about over 70 million, which is absolutely fantastic. I was not planning on getting that much money in, especially the Winks transfer. I haven't offered him out. I didn't offer him out to anybody. They just come in and offered the deal, and I just seen it, was like, yep, I'm taking it. But with those players going out the door, and obviously the team being very bang average, we needed to bring some players in to strengthen. One of those players I brought in to bolster up the backline is going to be on loan from AC Milan, is Pavlovic. Look, 6'4", big physical dude. The Premiership is very, very physical. So I brought him in just to rough things up a little bit. He also has an optional fee if we do want to go around to doing that of 20.5 million. Look, if he performs and he does well, I'm happy enough to bring him in. He's still only 23 years old. Yeah, he's a little slow, but it is something I can work on with individual training. If we can get his acceleration up to like 13 or 14, and he's 14 and 14, he's going to be very, very good. And like I said, 6'4", big physical dude. But then and beside him and Caleb Okoli, look, I wanted to once again beef up the backline a little bit. I brought in young Abakar Silla, another one, 6'2", physical stats are very, very good. Mental stats are a little weird. His composure, concentration, and decision making are a little off. I am working in the final third with him in his training. This is going to help with his composure and his decision making. Concentration will go up with time. So if we can get his mental stats up a little bit, look, he's fast, he's good in the air, he's 6'2", and for a total of 22 million, I think this is a good future investment. But then we also needed a striker. Look, we all love Jimmy Vardy, and you just gotta love his work ethic, but he is also 37 years old, and we do need to replace him. So I brought in Manuel Omega. You know my love for big physical players up top. He's 6'5". Play fantastic at both feet. He's got 3-star potential, working its way up to 4. He's got a good mentality. He's good in the air. He's fast. He's got good attacking. Look, I am working on his work rate and his stamina because I do want my strikers up top to do work hard. This ended up costing us a total of 16 million. Then I also brought in Facundo Torres. This is going to be one to play in behind the striker. Look, I know we have the wee kid in on loan from Brighton, but I want someone in our team who's ours. Look, I don't want to develop a player that's not ours. If we didn't have the money, I would have happily played him. But now that we have the money, I've invested a wee bit into the team. Look, this dude, Came up, I scouted him, I put him on my shortlist. Someone went in and offered for him, so I equaled that offer of 10 million. Look, he can play fantastic at both feet. Very, very good dribbling, finishing, and first touch. Passing's good, vision's good, technique's good, mental stats are solid. Yeah, his strength is a little low, but that's something I am going to work on with individual training. He's got a good mentality, he's consistent, he enjoys the big games, and it's the type of player I do want in at the club. I know his physical stats look a little low, but it's only because his jump and reach and his strength so low. If we can get his strength up to like 12, 13, I'm happy with that. Then I also brought in Nathan Zizi from Nantes. This is going to be one for like a future investment. Pavlovic, I don't know if we're going to have the money to bring him in, so I brought this guy in to basically be a long-term replacement for that left-hand side. So it'll probably more likely be Nathan Zizi, I think that's how you say his name, and then Caleb Coley and Sila as our backline. But this kid's going to need a wee bit of football, so he's one, if I can get out on a loan deal, I'm probably going to try and loan him out. We did pay a total of, I think it was like 8 million up front, and then the rest of the installments working its way up to like 10 or 11 million. Look, it's not a massive amount of money for the Premiership, but it's a future investment for our backline. Then because we get rid of our ball-winning midfielder to the Saudi League, I wanted to bring someone in, once again, big, strong, physical. Look, you know how I like to do with my teams. Physicality in FM really, really does help. Eric Martel is fantastic. 22 years old, 6'2", physical stats. Yeah, he's not the fastest in the world, but apart from that, look, he's got good aggression, good bravery, good determination, teamwork and work rate are fantastic. He can still pass the ball. He's got good stamina, good work rate, 6'2", enjoys the big games, consistent, got a fantastic mentality, and we only paid a total of 8 million for him. Obviously, a few things kind of want to work on. I'm probably going to work on his passing and vision. Speed, I don't need him to be super quick. He's playing as a ball-winning midfielder, but I do need him to be able to recycle the ball, so I'm probably going to work on his passing and vision. So with everybody in the door and everybody out the door, this is what the team looks like for Season 1. Harmanison, I don't know how the fuck to say people's names in this game. Pavlovic, Akoli, and Silla as our backline. I'm very, very happy with this. And then Christensen, I think he is just a wee bit better than Luke Thomas, so I am going to start him for the season and just kind of see how he gets on. Ndidi, Martel in the middle of the park, Pereira as the complete wing back on the right-hand side, Torres and Fatui, and then Omega up top. Obviously, this dude just going to kind of see how he progresses over time. I don't know what his potential is. Look, it says it's 4 to 5 star. I don't think he's a 5-star player. I think he's probably in and around like 3.5. We'll just have to evaluate this as our team gets a little bit better. But this is what the team would look like if I was in control. What is the assistant manager going to do? So he does change things up quite a bit. This midfield kind of changes a little bit. Skip obviously has the potential to be a decent enough player, but I want him and Martel to kind of interchange, and I want a wee bit of quality squad depth in there. There's no point just having one ball-winning midfielder. We're going to be playing a lot of football. We're going to need squad depth because you know how Football Manager does. It likes to give you some injuries and some bans and stuff. So indeed, Skip, obviously, I'm going to have to put Martel in here. In the back line, Plahovic is in there, Akoli is in there, and he put in Connor Cody instead of Silla, so I'm going to have to put Silla in as well. The rest of the team's pretty solid. He doesn't put in Fatua, puts in Torres, but then he doesn't put in Enigma. So we are going to have to lock a few people in. And those people locked in is going to be Silla, Martel, Fatua, and Enigma. And that is going to be the people that we lock in. But all in all, boys, look, I think we did very, very well. We got very, very lucky with the Saudi League coming in clutch and banning a bunch of our players. It does really help out a lot. And we got some good cash for him as well, especially some of the people like Winks. I didn't really think anybody was going to offer us that amount of money, but hey, I'm going to say no if the Saudi League comes knocking. But boys, that is everybody in the door, everybody out the door. Obviously, I'll bring you back in January for anybody good for approach assigns, and then I'll bring you back in April for the youth intake. But obviously, before we jump out and we play Season 1, look, my goal, obviously, stay out of the relegation battle. The board and everybody thinks we're going to finish in like, what, 18th? I would ideally like to finish mid-table. I think we've got a good enough team to be in and around that sort of like, I would say 10 to 14. 10 to 14, I think, is very, very reasonable. We do have a young team. We have brought some players in, so we'll just have to reevaluate that. But I think we've a good enough team to go anywhere from like 10 to 14 in the Premiership. Obviously, I could be massively wrong, but that's where I would like to be. That is my goal. Obviously, the long-term goal for this save is going to be working our way up, getting into European football. I would love to bring a Premiership title back to Leicester, but winning the Premiership can be very, very difficult. It's easier to win the Champions League sometimes than it is to win the Premiership, because the Premiership has so much money. It is so competitive, and everybody in that sort of like top 6 to 8 teams is very, very hard to break into. But you know, look, I'm always down for a challenge, and I think this is a very, very good team. But boys, let's go play Season 1. So boys, we're at the end of Season 1. Look, like I said, my goal for this is just going to be slowly just move the team up the table and up the table. I would love to bring a Premier League title back to Leicester before I finish the save. Obviously, like I said, trying to break in that top 8, it's going to be a little rough, but I think we've done very, very well this season. The players that we brought in, I think we made some good transfers. I did bring somebody else in January. I'll show you all that after, but let's jump over see how we did in the Premiership. So we started the league off very, very well with a nice little 3-0 win over Nottingham Forest. Fatua getting on the score sheet. Then 10 minutes later, he added another one to make it 2-0. Then the big man Amigmia got on the score sheet to make it 3-0 to us against Nottingham Forest. But everything was not all sunshine and rainbows. We took an absolute drumming by Arsenal. They ended up beating us 7-1. Then Martinelli game, we just couldn't stop him. Odegaard added the finish. We then got one back through Torres. But that was just a little consolation goal. Arsenal just went on to absolutely drum us. Like I said, we were going to take some defeats, but 7-1 to Arsenal kind of stings a little bit. Gabriel Jesus added a goal. Odegaard then added a second. Gabriel Jesus added another one. And like I said, Martinelli was just a torture for us all day. Into Rice, Odegaard turned, got his hat-trick. Odegaard then the supplier. It's Bob and Raheem Sterling scoring past you to make it 7-1. But then after Christmas, we turned things around, started getting a good run of form together. We ended up actually beating Man City 1-0 with a goal through Amigmia. So in the league, we ended up finishing 9th. Look, we had some very, very good... I'm not going to lie, the start of the season was a little rough. It took a wee bit of time to get going. Like I said, I did bring one other person in. I will show you that after. It was a person in on loan. I just felt at Fatua, we just weren't getting the best out of him. He also doesn't enjoy... He's a little inconsistent. And like, it's just in the Premiership, you can't really get away with that. But we ended up finishing 9th. Fucking 9th. I was going to be happy if we finished 10 to 14. Like I said, that was my goal for this season, was to finish 10 to 14. I feel like our team was good enough to get up there. But like 9th, we played 38 games, 14 wins, 10 draws, and 14 losses. Like, little inconsistent, but like, it's going to happen. We actually had a minus goal difference. Like I said, the 7-1 drumming by Arsenal didn't help things. We had a few hammerings at the start of the season. Then, like I said, after Christmas, we started to get a wee bit of momentum going. We actually beat some really, really good teams. And like I said, even getting a win over Man City is absolutely massive. We beat Chelsea. We had a draw against Newcastle. I think we hammered Aston Villa 3-1. So after Christmas, like I said, we started to get that momentum going. But all in all, look, we did well. I'm very, very happy. 9th is absolutely insane. Obviously, we don't have anybody in the goals, average ratings and assists, or player of the matches, clean sheets or yellow cards. This will come with time as we get a wee bit of consistency and our team does get better. But overall, team stats, look, most points per game, we're not in there, boys. Most goals, we are not in there. Look, this is going to happen, especially in the Premiership. The Premiership is very, very hard to break into that top 8 and get into like the top goal scorers in the league. It is going to take a bit of time. I'm very, very happy with the boys. Look, most shots for, we're not in there. Fewest shots against, we're not in there. Most clean sheets, we are actually in there at 6th, which means our defense held up pretty well. We had 15 clean sheets. Fewest goals conceded, we're not in there. Unfortunately, we had 24, which still isn't bad. The league, I am super, super happy with. Look, I would have loved to have broke into the top 7 and got some European football in the first season, but I'm happy with where things done. I think we just need to start knocking down. Like 14 defeats is absolutely insane. Like I said, most of these came at the start of the season with the team getting used to the new players and the new formation, and in the final half of the season we played very, very well. But 14 losses and 10 draws. 10 draws is also wild as well, but I'm happy with where we finished. Let's see how we did in the cups. So our FA Cup run did not go very, very well. We got Arsenal in the 5th round and they beat us 2-1. Look, all in all, getting beat 2-1 by Arsenal, it's not much of a thing. Look, we put up a good fight, but just getting Arsenal in the 5th round, I would have liked someone a little smaller to see if we could progress. So unfortunately, that was the end of our FA Cup run. But if you think that was bad, in the Carabao Cup, we actually ended up getting knocked out in the 2nd round by Bolton. Like I said, the first half of the season was a little rough. There was a lot of reds for defeats and draws in there, and we had some silly defeats we probably shouldn't have had, but I'm hoping to just move on from that. Look, we did very, very well in the league. Unfortunately, get smashed in both of the cups, but it is what it is. It's the first season. But performances, our keeper played 38 games, conceded 39, which honestly isn't that bad in the Premiership. It's really not. 16 clean sheets, and he had over a 7 rating for the season. Who wants him? Fucking hell. Boys, we may be losing our keeper because the Saudi League's interested. And then Christensen as left back played most of the games. Luke Thomas didn't really play overly that much, but he started 38 games, 0 goals, 6 assists. I would have liked a wee bit more assists from him, but like I said, the team was not massively performing well, so I can't really sort of put it down to like one player. Pereira played 19 games, 14 off the bench, 0 goals and 2 assists. So I think wing back is probably going to be a position we are going to need to strengthen. I feel like Pereira is absolutely terrible. He's not playing at a Premiership level. He also very, very injury prone. His physical stats are going down. And like I said, if I want a wing back to play like as an attacker, this is a position, especially on the right hand side, I think we really need to strengthen. But defensively, honestly, I'm very, very happy with how we are. Look, Big Silla played 30 games, no goals, no assists. But I think this guy was an absolutely fantastic purchase. Look, like I said, I'm working on his composure and decision making. They're both going up. His concentration has also went up. If we can get his mental stats up a little bit, I think we've got an absolute baller on our hands. It also got to January, and then I decided to lock in Nathan Zizi. Look, I couldn't get him out on loan at the start of the season. I couldn't get him alone in January, and I didn't want to waste him for the whole season. So I ended up actually locking him in as our left centre back. I was going to say wing back. Look, he is a guy I want to get some football. He has a ton of potential. He's 6'3". Yes, we've got a couple of things to work on. I am working on his acceleration and pace. Look, he's only 12 and 11, and in the Premiership, like I said, you need to have a wee bit more sort of va-va for him because he's got all the aerial stats. He's 6'3". He enjoys the big games. He's consistent. He's got everything there. So he started 8 games, got 1 assist. Then the big man Plahovic played 36 games, 0 goals, 1 assist. Caleb Okoli played 23 games, 11 off the bench, 1 goal, 1 assist. Then Fout Faze also got a decent amount of games, started 26 games, 4 off the bench, no goals, no assists. Then big Eric Martel, honestly, I think this is a fantastic purchase. I really, really do. 38 games, 3 goals, I was going to say 3 wins, 3 goals, 1 assist, and a 6.9. So I would like to see average rating start to come up, but that's mostly a team thing because, like I said, at the start of the season, we just did not have a good start to the league. So I don't expect people to have like over 7 ratings. Just as a team, we didn't play fantastic at the first half of the season. This was probably the most surprising one was indeed he actually didn't play that many games. He started 13, 16 off the bench, no goals, no assists. So the assistant manager must have decided that like somebody else was just having a better time in there. And that person who decided to play more was Oliver Skip. He started 34 games, 4 goals, 4 assists. He actually had over a 7 rating for the season. And then Young Fatui, like I said, as a player, I honestly believe he's a very, very good squad player. I don't know if he's good enough to start. Like I'm always looking at these players being like, can they push us up into European football? He started 20 games, 5 goals, 3 assists, but like I said, the team did not play well overall. So like I'm not gonna like go, he should be playing better, he needs to do better. Everybody kind of needs to do better, but he does have now the inconsistency trait, and he is a little bit one-footed. So he's one of those ones. Obviously, he's still only 21 years old. I couldn't spit that out. He's only 21 years old, so he's got a long way to go to improve. He could be a squad player or a starter. We just need to reevaluate this with time. Then, of course, Facundo Torres played 35 games, 8 goals, 5 assists once again. Would like to see this come up, but the whole team needs to play better. Who wants him? For fuck's sake, it's the Saudi League game, bro. They're everywhere. Then, of course, the big man up top, Amega, for his first season, did very, very well. 39 games played, 17 goals, 2 assists. He now also has that he doesn't enjoy the big matches trait, which I really, really don't like. But our options are still very, very limited with regards to who we can bring in. And the other person I did bring in on loan because, like I said, Fatua just wasn't doing it. Obviously, when we got to January, I was checking his stats, see how he was getting on. So I brought in Arda Güler on loan from Real Madrid. Started 19 games, 3 goals, 8 assists, and an over 7 rating. Obviously, I would love to bring him in, but he has a 46 million optional fee clause. And yeah, we don't have that type of cash. We currently got, 13 million for our transfer budget for next year. So yeah, that's going to be a little rough. We're not going to be able to bring Arda Güler in, but I did confirm the transfer of one player, and that person was Naipan. I had him on my shortlist. Somebody offered for him. I went in. We were a bigger team than them, and I took him. We took him a total of 4.5 million. This is one I'm going to bring into the team. Obviously, need to loan out, but I don't feel like he's ready to play in the Premiership yet. Because if you look at Arda Güler is insanely technically gifted and mental-wise. Where Naipan needs a wee bit more time, but he's very strong with both feet. He's got a good mentality. He's consistent. He's still only 18 years old. So he's one I'm going to bring in. I definitely want to loan out and get some football. Hopefully, you can loan him out into the Championship or something. Get him a wee bit of competitive football. So in regards to the team at the end of the season, look, this is pretty much the people that I'm happy with. Our keeper, if we can keep him for the Saudi League, doesn't want to go. ZZ needs a wee bit of time. But I think he's a fantastic player. Sila and Akoli, absolutely happy with. Christensen would like to replace, but obviously we don't have a lot of cash. I'm bringing in 2 fullbacks in one window when you've only got like 13 or 14 million. We're going to need to sell people to replace him. Christensen, if we can get a bit of cash, I would like to replace and bring somebody in a little bit better. Complete wing back on the right hand side definitely needs, it's a main priority because Pereira is just not good enough. Skip and Martel, super happy with them. I'm actually going to put Ndidi up here next year because, like I said, Naipan, want to loan him out. I don't think he's ready to start in the Premiership yet. And then Torres in behind Omega. I'm pretty happy with this. The fullbacks need evaluated. But all in all, boys, look, a good season. We finished fucking 9th. Get smashed in the cups. It is what it is. But I'm very happy with the players we brought in. So, boys, we're going to move on to Season 2. I'm going to go do some transfer business. And hopefully the Saudi League can take us out of a hole. So I just realized that was not actually our initial transfer budget. We got it like 4 days later. It's actually 34.3 million, which I'm very happy with. That's way better than 13 million. So boys, this is going to make it a little easier to try and get some good wing backs in. Obviously, trying to find the right players to bring in is going to be the other thing. But this helps us out the fact that we actually have a lot more money now. So boys, obviously going into Season 2, look, there's a few areas of the team I would like to strengthen. Obviously, the fullbacks is going to be a priority, especially the right fullback or the complete wing back on the right hand side. It needs to be sort of strengthened straight away. But we did sell a few players for quite a lot of cash. The first one out the door was, of course, Mads Hermasen. Of course, when the Saudi League comes knocking, boys, you can't really say no. He went out the door for a total of 36 million. Look, we bought him for 6, sold him for 36. I think this is a pretty good investment. Then also the Saudi League came in and offered for Ndidi. We sold him for a total of 24 million. This is one of those ones, look, I was happy to have him in, but like if an offer did come in, I was happy to take one if the offer was reasonable. 24 million, I think is pretty good because he's, honestly, he would be a good squad player. Then, of course, the problem that I had with our team was our complete wing back on the right-hand side. Look, Pereira's 31, about to be 32. We needed some of the wee bit of youthful exuberance in there. So I sold him on for 7.5 million. But obviously the first thing I had to do was bring in a keeper because ours went to the Get Rich League. So I brought in Nicholas Heidel. This cost us a total of 9 million. There was a bunch of other teams in for him. Borussia Dortmund, Juventus. He actually ended up coming to us, which is fantastic. Look, Heidel is an absolutely fantastic keeper. 9 million, got a good mentality. He's super consistent. Then the opportunity came up for this to bring Patrick Dorgu in. So went in. The ideal was I was going to loan him, see if I could get a wee optional fee. Yeah, they wanted a mandatory fee. It worked out a total of about 30 million, which I'm very happy with. Like, he's 20 years old. He's very good. He has 4 to 5 star potential. Obviously, that'll go down with time. Even if he's 4 star, I'm super happy with. Look, he's got a good mentality. He's super consistent. He's also... Is he not 6 foot in real life? I could have swore Patrick Dorgu is a lot taller in real life. But anyway, like I say, brought him in for 30 million. As you can see, he's in on loan for the season. And then we have confirmed the arranged fee up here, total on 30 million. I think 30 million for him is a really good deal. He's a fantastic player. Then obviously with a few of our older players kind of going out the door, we were going to need a wee bit of quality squad depth. Look, the options, I'm not going to lie to you boys, the options are not great with regard to who to bring in. But I did bring Ibrahima Bamba. Look, 6 foot, physical stats are absolutely insane. Yeah, he's a little 1 footed, but I don't mind that. That's something we can work on. He's got a good mentality. He's consistent. He enjoys the big games. Yeah, he's a little injury prone, but he's not going to be a starter. He's around for backup. Paid a total of 10 million for him. I think this is a really good deal. Adds a wee bit more physicality to your team as well. But another one I brought in was young Dan Gore. Look, I had him on my short list. Look, I'm trying to bring in as many English players as I can. This is more for squad depth. Look, he can play with both feet. He can play in a lot of positions. He's consistent. He has a good mentality. He does actually have the potential to be pretty decent. And he was a little upsetty spaghetti. So we got him. I think the deal worked out at about 11.5 million. Look, I know, but when you know yourself, when you have to buy English players from English clubs, things get a little bit expensive. But I'm trying to bring in players into the team that are young, that we can develop, but can also play in a multitude of positions and can play with both feet. Because we do need versatility. Because at some point, touch wood, we're going to be playing European football and we need better squad depth. Then another person I brought in and loan, this is one that I want to bring in full time, is going to be Lewis Millie. Look, plays for Newcastle. He's English. He's only 19 years old. He's 6'1". He's very good all round. We do have a optional future fee of 18.7 million. So this is one I've actually kept money aside from our transfers, from all the money that we have, to basically bring him in. I definitely want to put him in the middle of the park. Like, he can play with both feet. He's English. It's going to help with registration. He's playing 3 star. Even if he gets the 4 star and gets a star better than this, look, we got a big physical player in the middle of the park. And then the last person I brought in on loan from Liverpool is Connor Bradley. This actually cost us absolutely nothing, because if you go into the history, the loan deal, Absolutely nothing. There's no fees attached to this. I was very, very surprised. Like, they don't want any monthly installments or nothing. I don't know if like Leicester's linked with Liverpool or something that way. I don't know that much about it, but it costs us absolutely nothing. So we've got him in on a complete free for the season, and we need cover it right back. So with everybody in the door and everybody out the door, this is pretty much what the team is going to look like for season 2. I'm very, very happy with this. You may be looking and thinking, Mark, have you changed the formation? No, I just kind of switched sides of a few of the players. The Shadow Striker is now on the right-hand side because I want Dorgu as our complete wing-back. The complete wing-back was, it's basically just this formation. This is what last year was. The complete wing-back was on the right-hand side. Shadow Striker was on the left. I've literally just switched it because I want Dorgu to be our complete wing-back, because he's very, very attacking. He's not really good defensively, and I want him bombing up the park and going forward at people. But the rest of the team, I'm super happy with. Heidel as the keeper, Zizi, Sala, and Okoli as our backline. I'm very, very happy with this. Dorgu, Martel, or Oliver Skip. I don't really care who plays in here. The both of them are very, very good. Millie, I am going to lock in because I do want him to get football, because then when January rolls around, I want to be able to hit that optional fee and basically bring him in full time. Bradley, like I said, I do want to play Bradley here for the season, but I do have someone I kind of want to bring in for this position. And it's more than likely going to be Ivan Fresneda. Look, he's 20 years old, he's 6 foot, he's very, very good. They do want about 18 to 19 million for him, so I'm going to try and see if I can loan him in maybe January or the start of next season. I want someone of his profile. Look, he's good marking, good passing, good tackling, good technique. I need someone that's kind of all-round decent, because they're playing as a wing-back on the right-hand side and support, so I need him to be kind of good all-round defensively and going forward, where Dorgu is all attack. He's a complete wing-back on attack. I just want him bombing up the park. With the right-hand side, I want someone that's a wee bit more well-rounded. So someone like Ivan Fresneda, look, if we can't get him in and they keep trying to pull their pants down for the price, I'll just go and try and find somebody else. But I want a player of his profile. But obviously Connor Bradley will do for the meantime. Look, if I'm going to try and get him off Liverpool, you're talking like maybe probably anywhere in the region from 35 to 50 million they're going to be looking for him. So I would love to bring Connor Bradley in, but it's going to cost us an absolute fortune. And then obviously Naipan, because we get rid of Ndidi, I'm going to bring Naipan into the team for the season. Look, is he massively ready yet? Probably not for the Premiership, look, but the only way he's going to get better is if I play him. And then obviously Torres in behind Amiga. Our squad is also looking a lot better. We've got a lot more squad depth this year as well. This team I'm very, very happy with, but this is how I would set the team out. How would the assistant manager do it? So honestly, he doesn't really change too much. Keeper stays the same. Silla still says there, but then he brings in Cody and Fez for Okoli and Zizi. Bradley is still there. Skip comes in. Bambi is in the middle of the park as the ball-winning midfielder, which is kind of a little strange. Christensen comes in there instead of Dorgu, which I don't really understand. Dorgu's a way better player. Torres stays. Magati is in there, but he's actually currently out on loan and Amiga. So I am going to have to lock a few people in by the looks of it. So this is going to be the players that I lock in for the season. It's going to be Okoli, Zizi, Dorgu, Millie, and Naipan. Obviously, I'll reevaluate this in January just in case people aren't playing. I'm hoping the assistant manager puts in, what do you call him, Torres in here. We'll just have to wait and see. Like I said, I'll keep a wee eye on that. If he's not playing him, I'll end up just locking him in myself. But this is the people I want to lock in. I want to get some football and I want to see them progress. But boys, I'm pretty happy with everybody we brought on. I think this team can do some damage. Obviously, with regards to the Premiership, we finished, what, 9th last year? I would say anywhere from 7 to 10. I think 7 to 10 is realistic, or maybe 7 to 11 position I think will be really, really good. Obviously, I would like to try and push into the 7 to try and get like European football, but 7's my optimistic, and then from like 8 to 10 is like where I think we'll probably finish. But let's have to wait and see how we finish, boys. But obviously, I'll bring you back in January for anybody that's available for approach signs that I'm interested in. And then obviously the youth intake. If you don't see youth intakes, it just means it was terrible like it was last year. Like it was pretty bad, boys. I'm going to have to work on our youth recruitment with the board. But the more sometimes I improve our youth recruitment, sometimes it makes our youth intake a little worse. But I'm really happy with the team. But boys, let's go play season 2. So boys, we're in January and we're looking at all the people on the approach signs. One of the ones I was looking at was Marcus Edwards. He's very, very good, but there is a few things. Obviously, dribbling, finishing first touch, or passing, and technique are all fantastic, but his mental stats are just kind of where I think in the Premiership he would kind of struggle a little bit. Like 12, 11, 11. He's got 10 determination. His work rate is only 8, and obviously he's close to his full potential, so there's nothing we could really work on. Like I can't actually work on his work rate. If his work rate was a little higher and a little better mental stats, he's one I would definitely look to bring in, but we do need squad depth. So I may offer him a contract and just kind of see. Look, if he's interested in being like a fringe or a squad player, I'm very, very happy with that. So I'm just going to go in and offer for him and kind of see. So apparently he's not interested in signing for us at all, even though he's on the list of people that's interested. Look, it's one of those ones, if we got him, great, but if we didn't, it's okay. One of the players I actually am very, very interested in signing is going to be Lazar Samaridic. One, he's free, which always makes things absolutely fantastic, but technically, very, very gifted. Mental stats are very, very good. Physically, very good. He can play with both feet. He's 6 foot. He's got a good mentality. He's consistent. A little injury prone, but like I said, he's going to be there for squad depth. Another one that is on the list of people that's interested in signing for us. So we'll just we'll have to wait and see if he is. So he's another one, even though he's on the list, for some reason doesn't want to sign. So like I said, I did also want to bring in Ivan Fresnida at one point. Look, I was looking around for players that were similar to him. They were very, very heavily priced. It was, yeah, it got a little expensive. Some, like, Michael Coyote was one I was looking at, but they wanted like 73 million, and it's a little out of our ballpark with regards to money. Like I said, I did bring Fresnida in, brought him in on loan with a mandatory fee of 18.2 million. I think 18 million for a player his caliber is, like I said, it's exactly what I want. Someone a wee bit well-rounded. They're young, we can develop them. He's also playing at a Premiership level. He's got a good mentality. So like I said, in on loan for the rest of the season and a mandatory fee of 18.2 million, which means in the summer, he will be ours. So another person I did bring in, this is going to be to help bolster up the squad, because we, like I said, we need a wee bit of squad depth, is going to be Pablo Torre from Barcelona. It costs us a total of about 10.5, 11 million. This, like I said, is for squad depth, because if we get like Naipan injured, we don't have a lot of depth there. So if I just brought him in, he's also only 22 years old, which means we can develop him a wee bit. He's already technically very, very gifted. Good first touch, good passing, good technique. So him and Naipan can interchange. Also, he can play in the shadow striker role if we need to for Torres. So boys, we're at the end of season 2. Like I said previously, but just all I want from this team is to just keep going up and improving. Obviously, us bringing in good players is going to help that. I think the players that we brought in the summer has really, really helped like bolster the team. So let's go see how we did in the Premiership. So we started the season off really well with a nice 2-0 win over Nottingham Forest. Ayew got both of the goals because Amegba was actually hurt at the start of the season. Then on the 79th minute with a nice ball in from Dorgu, he added a second to beat them 2-0. Then halfway through the season, we also had a fantastic win over Chelsea, ended up beating them 2-0. A bad mistake from them, and they let Reed in. Then a nice ball in from our Bradley over to Megma. He touched it down to Christensen, make it 2-0. But then we showed that we have massively improved through the season. We ended up, we got a loss to Man United, but it was a 3-2 defeat, which shows we are making massive progress. Obviously, mistakes from us let Xerxes in. Then Bruno Fernandes give the ball to Rashford for him to make it 2-0. But like he said, we showed that we're just not going to sit down and just take defeats. They played the ball in for Torres to make it 2-1. They hit back with a Bruno Fernandes penalty to make it 3-1. Then we got a penalty of our own to make it 3-2. Like I said, we're showing that we're going to put up a fight now. So boys, because of those results, we actually ended up in 6th. Look, you know I'm very, very honest how my saves go. I wasn't expecting this. I was not. The first half of the season, we had a couple of wee results. We were down in like sort of like 11th or 12th at one point, and then like I said, after Christmas, we got that momentum and just started kicking on a little bit. Obviously, bringing in Fresnida and stuff helped us out a lot as well. I think just having him on that right-hand side is the more defensive option out of the two to like stabilize the team up a little bit. Also, Zizi, the wee centre back, looks phenomenal right now. I'll show you that whenever we go to like all the player ratings and stuff. But like, dude, 6th, it's just as well, because obviously my goal, 7th, was going to be my sort of like, let's get there, we get European football. It's just as well we got 6th, because Brentford ended up winning one of the cups. I can't remember which cup it is that takes you into Europe. I can't remember if it's the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. But yeah, they actually took away the 7th spot for European football, so it's just as well we sneaked in into 6th. Look, we're ahead of Chelsea, we're ahead of Newcastle, Liverpool, or I just noticed Liverpool are in 9th. Aston Villa won the league as well. Like, it just shows you this season was a wee bit a little sideways, but we played 38 games, 17 wins, 11 draws, 10 defeats. 10 defeats is a lot, but like if you look at the defeats, Chelsea, Newcastle, Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Norwich we should be beaten. I think West Ham we should be beaten. Tottenham, Brighton and Arsenal, they're all games. So I would say 2 of those defeats, that gives us another 6 points. That takes us up into like 68. That takes us up in the Champions League football. So if we can start doing that, just getting rid of those wee silly defeats. Obviously, 11 draws is also a lot as well. We should be beating like a Bournemouth and Brentford, so there's another like 4 points back as well. But this happens to everybody. Look, the Premiership is a hard league. We finished on 62 points. We are 1 point behind Tottenham and only 5 points behind Champions League football. Look, Omega in there right behind Erling Haaland. He's only 3 goals behind Erling Haaland. He's also in there for average ratings. Naipan is also in there for assists. He was actually top for a while, but then he got a wee injury because he's injury prone, and then he dropped down. But being right in behind Phil Foden and Bruno Fernandes, not too bad. Dorgo is in there for yellow cards. I know you can't see behind my camera. He's actually third. We've nobody in player of the matches or clean sheets. But boys, this is fantastic. Stats-wise, most points per game, we're down in 6th. Look, all I want, I don't expect us to just jump straight up to the top. It's just going to be slow progress over time. As long as we're getting better and better and better every year, that's all counts. Most goals, we're actually up there. We're down in 4th. We're 63 goals we scored. Most shots for. Aston Villa just had a blinder of a season. Then fierce shots against was his Man City, because, you know, obviously their defense. Look, I'm happy with this. Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, and then us for fierce shots against. I will take that all day. Most clean sheets, we're not in there. Obviously, look, we've got a very, very young, inexperienced backline. It's going to take a wee bit of time. Then fierce conceded, we're down in joint 4th with 41. Look, 41 goals is a lot of goals to concede, but in the Premiership, it's not really, because everybody's so dangerous. Like, they really, really are. The top, like, 10 to 12 teams can beat anybody on the day, and that's why I love the Premiership. I think that's why most people enjoy the Premiership. Because, one, there's a ton of money, and it's just fun because everybody can win. But I'm very, very happy with this. This is absolutely fantastic. This is above where I want us to be. Like I said, I was like, right, 7th is the goal. But honestly, like 8th to 10th is probably where we would finish, and we end up in 6th. I will take this. Sometimes you just get wee good seasons. But as the Premiership out of the way, let's go and see how we did in the Cups. So when the FA Cup, unfortunately, we only made it to the 5th round. We ended up getting Brighton and they beat us 2-1. Look, it is what it is. When you get into like the 5th round, 4th and 5th round, and you get like top Premiership teams, it's always going to be very, very difficult. But this is something I want us to improve on. Obviously, we're improving in the league. The Cups, I want us to start getting a wee bit further. I want to win one of the Cups. But the Carabao Cup is where things got a little bit more disappointing. I wouldn't even say disappointing. We got Arsenal in the 3rd round. Also, I just noticed they have Tuchel. And how much did they pay for him? 91 million. That's more than our whole squad's worth. But then player ratings wise, look, we had a very, very good season. Heidel, fantastic choice for a keeper. Look, 9 million, a very, very good keeper. Played 40 games, conceded 41. This will come down with time. Like I said, our defense is still very, very young. Conceded 41, 14 clean sheets though. And then, like I said, Young Zizi, I think that's how I pronounce his name. Somebody can leave in the comments down below and let me know how you actually say it. He looks very, very good. So it just shows you the kid's played like a season and a half of football and how well he's progressed. And he says it still could improve a lot. I don't think he'll be a 5-star, maybe a 4-star. If he gets a star better than this, he'd be very, very good. Even if he just gets half a star better than this, he'll be phenomenal. Played 43 games, 2 goals, no assists. In Big Sila, look how good his physical stats are. 15, 15, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16. The dude is a absolute unit. And obviously the things I was working on was going to be his composure and decision making. They're now up to 12 and 13. And his concentration is now gone up from 9 up to 12. Look, he's pretty close to full potential. I'm happy with that. He's an absolute unit of a centre back. But he played 37 games, no goals, 1 assist. Then Big Caleb Okolo played 40 games, no goals, 1 assist. This is a position I may look to maybe change at some point. Caleb Okolo is very, very good, but like this is pretty much him at his max potential. And if I'm thinking, right, if we want to get into the Champions League football and play against the big boys, obviously we're in the Premiership, we're playing against big boys all the time, but like I think he would be better as a squad player instead of a starter. Then you have Patrick Dorgu, who I honestly expected to have a wee bit of a better season, but the thing I have to remember, look, the kid just turned 21. It's his first season. I don't expect him to hit the ground and just absolutely blow the Premiership up. Did 27 games, 1 goal, 4 assists. I would expect a lot more than 4 assists from a complete wing back on attack. So next season, would like to see us to go up a little bit. But like I said, he has just started playing at a Premiership level. So I don't expect him to just be absolutely unreal. He also still has a ton of room to improve. So would like to see us to go up to like 10 to 15 assists next season. Then young Ivan Fresneda on the other side, 19 games played because we brought him in January, well just at the end of January, and then 1 goal, 3 assists. So he's on support and he got 1 less assist than Dorgu did. So like I said, want to see that ramp up a little bit, but I think this was a very, very good purchase. Then young Lewis Millie played 40 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, obviously playing as a deep lane playmaker. He is one. I put it in January. I asked his agent, does he want to sign for us? He said no, he has 0 interest. I asked in April again. He said no, he's got 0 interest. And then I asked just at the end of the season there, and he is interested in signing for us. As you can see, I've put in the bid of 18.7 million. Just waiting to agree the contract and stuff with him. He's one I definitely want to bring in. Look, 6'1", can play with both feet, got a good mentality, consistent, big physical player. He's English. He's only 20 years old. has a ton of room to improve. It's exactly what I want in our team. Then out of the two of Martel and Skip, the assistant manager, seems to have picked Skip more than anything. I'm happy with this. Look, Skip or Martel playing in there, any of the two of them I'm happy with. Look, played 37 games, 2 goals, 3 assists, got a good mentality, consistent. He's also English, still only 25, super physical, like I said, what I want from our team. Then young Naipan played 39 games, 6 goals, 13 assists in his first season. Not bad for a kid that's only just turned 19. Also, look at his price now. 85 to 98 million. We paid like, what, 4 million for him? Then, of course, Facundo Torres. Oh, God, who wants him? Don't say Saudi League. That's right, the Saudi League's not in there. Everybody else in Europe, we can kind of fight off a little bit. But he played a good season. Look, 38 games played, 16 goals, 5 assists, and an over 7 rating. He's one, once again, at his full potential. We probably need to look at down the line to maybe replace and bring in someone a little bit, wee bit more grit and va-va-voom, because he will be a very, very good squad player. I don't think he's one of those ones that, like, he should be starting. If we want to start pushing up into Europe and pushing into Champions League football, we do need to increase the quality of the players we have around the squad. Eventually, down the line, I would like him to be a squad player instead of an important player or a starter. Then, of course, young Paulo Toure, another one that we brought in January. Look, still not playing at a Premiership level yet, but he didn't start a ton of games. He started 6, 22 off the bench, 4 goals, 5 assists. He's a player, look, I'm very, very happy to have around the squad. He's happy to be a squad player, which is fantastic. And like I said, for what, 11 million? This is the type of player, him and like Facundo and Caleb Okoli will be fantastic squad players. But then, of course, the big man up top, he was actually injured at the start of the season, so he ended up not playing a lot of games. As you can see, he only started 23 games for the season. Unfortunately, he got injured. We probably could have pushed up the league a little further if he wasn't injured. 23 games started, 9 off the bench, 23 goals, 4 assists, and a 7.32. So at the end of the season, this is what the team kind of looks like. Obviously, like I said, I would want a better centre back. Look, I think Okoli is very good, but like I want to start pushing up at the European football, and we need someone as good as Zizi and Sila, and then I want to complement that. Obviously, it depends how much money we get, whether or not we can reinforce this. Also, the shadow striker, like I said, Facundo Torres is good, but I want someone just a little bit better. So these are the 2 positions I'm going to focus on in the summer: the shadow striker and another centre back. But all in all, boys, look, we did fucking fantastic. We got ourselves up into European football. Obviously, we were terrible in the cups again, but like getting 2 Premiership teams really early, like we get Arsenal in the second round. Second fucking round. It's absolutely ridiculous. But like I said, I'm very, very happy where the team has went going forward. Obviously, we'll wait here and I'll show you what our initial transfer budget is, because we haven't got it yet. So we got our initial transfer budget for the season. It is £57 million. I can do some serious damage with this. Also, Newcastle is interested in Torres. They're talking like 45 to 50 million. Look, if we can get rid of him for 40 million, that gives us like nearly 100 million to play with. But boys, I'm going to go do some transfer business. Let's jump over into season 3. So obviously then moving into season 3, we're going to have some European football. So we need to increase the quality of the squad that we have. So we got a few people going out. Some of them I was looking to sell. Some of them just got really, really good offers for. So let's jump into the transfers. So one of the first people out the door, this is one that I wasn't really planning on selling, is Oliver Skip. Newcastle come in and offered. I said no. He got upset, wanted to go to a better team. So we wrangled a little deal. It's a pretty good one. Look, I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to sell him because he's a really, really good defensive midfielder. He's English. He's 25 years old. But the deal starts at 60 million, working its way up to 81 million. So, I mean, we can't be too upset about a deal as good as that. But it's a player I didn't want to sell. Then a player we did talk about, maybe not getting rid of, but like replacing and making someone a little stronger. But the Saudi League came in and offered for Facundo Torres. Starts at 40 million, working its way up to 50 million. And for a player that we bought for 10, I think this was a pretty good deal. So then one of the players I actually, once again, didn't want to get rid of, but Ajax came in and offered for a mega. He wanted to go, so we wrangled a little deal. It is a good one. Look, starts at 27, works its way up to 35.5 million. For a player we bought for 16, we're pretty much doubling our money. Look, he's a player, he's at his max potential, and I brought someone in to replace him. It's a little better. So like I said, going into this season, I wanted to basically strengthen the back line. As you can tell, Caleb Okoli is kind of upset that I have brought someone in. He feels like he's being replaced. Little does he know he actually is, but like it's not on a bad thing. He's going to get a lot of football, so I don't understand why he's that upset. So I put in for Lorenzo Paroli. Look, an Italian 6'1", really, really good. Got a good mentality, super consistent. We paid a total of 18 million for him. His physical stats are absolutely insane. He's close to full potential, but his full potential is better than what Caleb Okoli's is. So by that means, we've actually strengthened our back line. So a player that I actually agreed, this was from last season. This was actually from March last year. This was part of them, but obviously we had to wait for him to come through with the transfer. But this one is Mahej. I'm not gonna fucking try and pronounce it. This one costs us a total of 4 million. I think it's a really, really good deal. Look, the kid is really fast. He's got good attacking. He can play in a multitude of positions. He can play with both feet. He's still only 19, and for 4 million, he adds a ton of versatility. He's already valued at 52, 63 million. So I think for 4 million, a pretty good deal. Another one that I brought in was young Chris Rigg. This is going to be, he was on my short list. He was upset. His spaghetti wanted to leave. This cost us 15 million. Look, this is the bolster of the squad. Also, we have sold a few English players, so obviously we need to keep up with like registration and stuff. I think Chris Rigg is a very, very good player in this. If you give him time, he can be very, very good. But I may look to loan him out for the season. Obviously, if I can't get him loaned out, I don't know what we're going to do. Just I don't want to drop him down into the under 21s, but he's a very, very good player and he has really good potential. I just don't think he's amazing now. He has the potential to be very, very good down the line, and I would rather get him now instead of paying 40 or 50 million down the line. I did try to go for Alex Scott. That was my original one. I went in for Alex Scott, but they wanted 96.5 million for him. So yeah, I kind of cancelled that deal. So then someone I brought in to replace Facundo Torres is Cole Palmer. Look, he's only 24 years old. He's English. He was listed by Chelsea. I was going to say Man City, but he went from Man City to Chelsea. He was listed from City for 31 million. So I went in and put the offer in. I know it says here he doesn't enjoy the big games, but we can work around that. Obviously, we have a lot of people who can play in that position and need this for squad depth. Also, he helps with registration, and he is a very, very good player. So with our striker going out the door, obviously we're going to need someone to come in and replace him. This person is not going to be the first choice, but they're going to be in there for squad rotation as well. He's happy, as you can see, to play as a squad player. It is Strand Larsen. We paid a total of 16 million for him, which I think is a very, very good deal. Look, he's going to be the backup to the person who's our original striker, and that person is Evan Ferguson. Unfortunately, this is only in on loan for the season, but look, Evan Ferguson is absolutely ridiculous. He does have an optional fee in his contract, but it's 139 million. So as much as I would love to bring him in full time, look, I just wanted to bring in Evan Ferguson and Strand Larsen. Then we've got two strikers who can fight it out. Look, I would love to bring him in, but like we just don't have that type of cash. So with everybody in the door and everybody out the door, this is what the team's going to look like for season 3. Heidel, Zizi, Parola, and Sila as our back three. Very, very happy with this. And then Dorgu is a complete wing back on the left hand side. Martel in there, once again, super happy. Like I said, him or Skip, I didn't really care who played, but Martel's obviously going to play now. And then Millie and Fresneda, and then Naipan and Palmer in behind Ferguson. Like I said, this is a very, very good team. I'm very, very happy with this. My goals for the season, obviously would love to break in the Champions League football, but I don't know how well this team's going to perform. If we can stay in that sort of like 6 to 9 position, I'd be very, very happy. Obviously would love to stay in European football. That is going to be our goal. And also winning a few competitions. We need to do better in the cups. We've been horrendous in the cups, but obviously we keep getting big teams at the start of the competition, which doesn't really help. This is how I would set out the team. How's the assistant manager going to do it? So for some reason, he still puts FaZe in here. I don't understand why he would be in instead of Zizi. He's just a way better centre back. But Fresneda, Marshall, Bamba is in there. We still can't get him a fucking work permit. So I'm trying to loan him out, but nobody wants him. And then Palmer and Naipan in behind. Hold on. He actually puts him in instead of Ferguson and Strand Larsen. That's very, very interesting. Like, don't wrong, this wee kid's good, but like he's not as good as Evan Ferguson. But I may just let the assistant manager kind of wing it and just kind of see who's good up there. But obviously, I'm going to have to lock young Zizi and Million because the assistant manager's not going to play him. Obviously, with Bamba being away, this may change, but I'm just going to lock Million just to be sure. And Zizi, I do want to keep progressing because the kid's absolutely fantastic. So I'm not going to lock any of the strikers in. I'm just going to let them fight it out, and then we'll reevaluate this in January. Obviously, if I see if we're not doing as well and I need to lock somebody in, I can reevaluate that. But obviously, boys, that's everything for season 3. Look, I'll bring you back in January if there's anybody good for approach science, and then once again if there's anybody in April for the youth intake. The 2 last youth intakes have been terrible. We're a 2-star for youth recruitment. I did ask them in the summer to increase that. They said no, so I'm going to ask them again in January and just see if we can get that sort of up. Because like 2-star, we have good training facilities and good youth facilities. They're like 4.5 star. So very, very happy with that. Just need to get the youth recruitment up. But boys, that's enough messing about. Let's go play season 3. So boys, we've got to the January transfer window. The only person I'm going to think about signing on an approach to sign is Mark Gahey. He's currently not interested in signing for us. He's a little dubious. So I'm going to leave this till like April, closer to the end of the season. If nobody comes in an offer for him, I'm going to put in, look, he's English. He's still only, what, like 25 years old. He can play with both feet, so it'd be great to have him in. But we'll just kind of keep a wee eye on him. We had a lot of people go out this window and a lot of people come in. We lost some people that didn't want to lose. So the first one out the door was Big Silla. This was just unfortunate. The Saudi League came in and offered. I said no. He got upset. Then they came in and activated his release clause. It's 41.5 million. I did try to give him a new contract in January, but he says he didn't want to sign a new contract because of the interest shown in him. So unfortunately, we lost him. I didn't want to lose him. He's an absolute fucking unit. But he had a release clause, and the Saudi League's giving him £750,000 a week. I'd probably go to. Then the next one out the door was Eric Martel. Leipzig came in and offered for him. Look, once again, they came in and offered. I said no. He said he wanted to go to a stronger squad and play in the Champions League. Look, I understand. So they offered 22.5 million up front, working its way up to 35 million. I think, honestly, this is a good deal. We bought him for 8 million, sold him on for 35. Then we also got rid of Bamba. This was just unfortunate. We just could not get a work permit for him at all. I thought when I signed him, right, we'll get a work permit down the line. We'll definitely get it. Applied like 2 or 3 times, got rejected every time. So we sold him on for 15 million to Borussia Dortmund. Then we also sold Tom Cannon on to Nottingham Forest for 13 million. Luke Thomas also went out the door to Crystal Palace for 13 million. Look, he's just not progressing how I thought he would. And don't worry, I brought in some good English players to replace them all. So the first one in the door was James McAtee. This is going to be for squad depth. Look, he was upset at Man City. We paid a total of 2.8 million for him. Brought him in the door, squad depth. He's English, still only 24, has a good mentality, consistent, enjoys the big games. So I thought for 2.8 million, there's not really much of a risk here. Then obviously with Silla going out the door, we needed an centre back, and Callum Doyle was actually on the transfer list. We ended up having to pay a total of 22 million because he's an English player playing in an English club. It gets a wee bit more expensive, but the kid has some serious potential. Like, he is really, really good. And like I said, he's only 23. He's English, has a good mentality, 6'3", so he's going to fill in pretty well. Then I also brought in young Joe Bellingham. So Brighton were very, very upset. He's spaghetti at Evan Ferguson going out the door, not playing enough games, even though we got injured twice and we couldn't fully play him all the games. So he's away back to Brighton. So I brought Joe Bellingham in. Look, obviously he's not going to be as good as Jude, but he has the potential to be very, very good. I'm actually playing him as our main striker at the minute. As you can see, 7 games played, 3 goals, 3 assists. He cost us a total of 22 million. This was his release clause, so we didn't have to pay it. Look, I think he's a fantastic player. He's English. He's still very, very young. He's got a good mentality. But on top of that, I also brought in young Mickey Moore. This is going to be one for, obviously, down the line. He's English. He's only 19 years old. But Naipan, these games off. He's also injury prone, so Mickey Moore and Naipan are going to interchange in the attacking midfielder role. This kid has a ton of potential. Like I said, he's English. He did cost us a wee bit of money, 24 million. Once again, English player playing an English club. It costs a wee bit of money sometimes. But look, we made that much money in this transfer window. I'm not really too bothered by it. And like I said, it's a future investment because the kid has some serious potential. But the big one coming in this window was Alex Scott. Like I said, I talked about this previously. I wanted to get this guy in the door at some point. I knew we were going to have to pay a lot of money. We had to pay a total of 50 million. Once again, English player, English clubs, gets a wee bit expensive, but like, the dude is unreal. His mental stats are insane. Technically very, very gifted. He can pass, he can dribble. Physical stats are very, very good as well. And like I said, he's only 23 and he's also English. But like I said, that's everybody in the door and everybody out the door in January. Usually I don't do this much business in January, but we just had a lot of things come up. Obviously people wanting to go to bigger clubs, and then transfer clauses or release clauses getting activated and stuff. It kind of just forced my hand a little bit. I'll keep us updated on the Mark Gahey thing. I would love to bring him in, but we'll just have to wait and see. So we're at the end of season 3. If you haven't liked this video and you're still here, I'm going to be very upset with you. But joking aside, I'm not joking, like the video. Look, I always want to keep progressing. I think we did very, very well the last couple of seasons. Look, because our reputation is very, very small, it took us a while to be able to sign the players that I want to. Obviously, I try and keep as many players from the same nation. But when you're in England, buying English players gets a little expensive. So obviously, some positions we're going to have normal players in there. But I think we have built a absolutely fantastic team. So let's see how we did in the league this year. So a few games in the season, we got a very, very good result against Man City. We ended up drawing 1 each. Of course, they started off the scoring through Phil Foden in the 4th minute. So it did take us till the 70th minute to get an equaliser. Martel, a nice little ball down the line for Palmer. He put in a cost for our striker that I'm not going to try and pronounce to finish 1 each. We then also had a fantastic result against Spurs. We ended up beating them 2-0. Ferguson started off the scoring. Then in the 81st minute, we hit back adding a second through Young Cannon. Not gonna lie, it was a nice touch around the defenders. Then later on in the season, we also had a fantastic win over Chelsea. We ended up beating them 1-0 with young Naipan getting the only goal. For us to then finish 3rd. I'm not gonna lie, boys, a few things did change, so I want to talk about that quickly. Obviously, I usually build a team, simulate the whole season, let the assistant manager just do his thing, but I've decided to take control a wee bit more of the saves. I feel like when you hand things off the assistant manager, the young players that I want to develop don't get a chance in the team because the assistant manager doesn't put them in. Certain players don't get a chance to play in certain positions. So I'm going to keep doing the same thing I'm doing. All I'm going to do is I'm going to play up until the match and then just simulate the match. Whatever result comes out, that's the result that comes out. But it means I have a wee bit more control on the day because I can choose the team that plays in that match. A prime example of this is, say we're playing Luton Town in the FA Cup, right? I know we're glossing over the fact that we just finished 3rd. Just let me finish my thought before I forget. Say we're playing against Luton Town, right? And then 3 days later we have Chelsea. Your assistant manager will just put out the best team against Luton that is available. Say it's your first 11, everybody's fit. So he'll put that team out against Luton, then he'll go up against Chelsea, and he'll put out a half-baked team because only half of them is fit. Where if you were in control, you'll kind of rest a few people for the Luton game because they're a smaller team and then play your best team against Chelsea. That's where I want to be in a wee bit more control. What I'm saying is I want to be in control of the team a wee bit more. I can decide who plays where, when the young players come up into the team, and then how much football they get. But we had a fantastic season. I needed to get that out. I wanted to explain that to you because I feel like we're going to start doing a wee bit better with me actually in control of the match day. But we finished 3rd. We did absolutely fantastic. At one point we were up in 1st, but I will also preface this that Man City and Liverpool were down in 8th and 9th at one point. I don't know what was going on in the league. It was a shambles, but we played 38 games, 24 wins. I'm not gonna lie, I was not expecting this. 6 draws, 8 losses. Of course the losses, but if you look at the teams we lost against, Liverpool, City, Everton, should be a better game. Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Wolves, Fulham. A few of those games we should probably be drawn or winning, but all in all we did well. Our draws: Brighton, West Ham, Arsenal, City, Luton, and Aston Villa. Luton, I think we should be beating. West Ham, I think we should be beating. Brighton's always a hard game. They have good players. As you can see, they ended up finishing in 6th. Man United are down in 7th. Tottenham are down in 8th. Newcastle are in 11th spot. 11th with their team. They also offered me the job halfway through the season. Obviously, I declined. We've also nobody in the goal scoring, which is kind of wild because some of our players did very, very well. Nobody in the average ratings. Cole Palmer is actually in there for assists. He's got 11, and then that is us. But all in all, boys, look, this is a fucking fantastic season. I feel like I said, with me having a wee bit more control of the save. Also, the great thing is I can develop the young players that I bring through the youth system a lot better. Then it means when you pick up the save, there's going to be a lot better wonder kids in the team. But if we've got up to the overall stats, most points per game. I've also had a lot of coffee today, so if we're just spinning through this, I apologize greatly for anybody that's not from the UK that struggles to understand us. But most points per game, we're up in 3rd. This is absolutely fantastic. We scored the most goals. I also switched up the formation a little bit. I will show you that obviously whenever we go to the tactics page. Look, I put up a poll in the community page. I was asking people, look, do you always want to see 5 at the back tactics, or do you want me to switch it up and play some 4 at the back, maybe a 3 at the back or whatever? And people was like, yes. 90% of the people that voted said yes, mix it up a little bit, keep it interesting. So I decided to change the tactic for season 3. I will show you the tactic. Obviously, any tactics that I use in the save will all be in the pinned comments down below with everybody's channels. So we ended up outscoring everybody in the league, which is kind of wild. Obviously, this is the first time I've seen this. I knew we scored a decent amount of goals, but I didn't think we scored this many. Then when we go down to most shots, we're down in 3rd, which is crazy. Few shots against, we're not in there, but no, I mean, look, it is what it is. Most clean sheets, I'm joined 5th. Burnley. Okay, that's probably the biggest surprise. I didn't expect Burnley to be down there. Fewest conceded, we're down in 6th. We conceded 46, but we did score like 87 goals. So obviously I would like this to come down a little bit. I would like to be up and sort of like The Premiership, you're always going to concede goals. There's so many good teams. I would like, if we're sitting around 40, I would say if we've got the third best defense in the league, I'll be pretty happy. If we score the most goals on a third best defense in the league, I'll be happy about. Sixth is still not bad. But boys, how do we do in the cups? So yeah, our Carabao Cup didn't go well. This was before I changed the tactics, so I'm just going to blame it on that. We ended up going out in the third round. The third round, the Leyton Orient on penalties. Obviously, this is not acceptable. This is absolutely ridiculous. We should definitely be beating a team like Leyton Orient, but look, it is what it is. We had a fantastic season in the league. I can kind of overlook it. So then that moved us on to the FA Cup where we faced off against Chelsea. Obviously, you want a better performance in this cup, and I feel like this is a cup we could be winning, but Nkunku started off the scoring in the 19th minute. They then scored another goal in the 80th minute. 3 minutes later, they then added a third goal, which at this point, things were not looking great. But in the 94th minute, with a great ball over the top for Palmer to Fatatua, we were back in the game 3-1. 3 minutes later, Palmer, great ball in. ZZ from a corner, made it 3-2. But boys, unfortunately, that's where the dream ended in the FA Cup. Look, Chelsea beat us 3-2. The fact that we scored in the 95th and the 90th minute was just ridiculous at that point. But look, this is somewhere we need to improve. Honestly, the FA Cup I'm pretty happy with. Getting beat by Chelsea 3-2, I can kind of take that. But like the Carabao Cup just was not great. So the Carabao Cup next year is somewhere I want to see us massively improve. So then that took us over to the Europa League phase. We ended up beating Trabzonspor. Is that how you pronounce their name? It's probably not. Beat them 2-0. Then we beat Klagenfurt 2-0. We then beat that team, Quarabag, whoever they are. We beat them 6-1. Then we had a very close match against Lille. We ended up beating them 3-2. Then beat Panathinaikos 3-1. Then we beat a team I've never heard of 3-0. Then we played a team I have heard of, Ludogorets. We beat them 5-0. Then to finish off the league phase, we ended up beating Ajax 3-1. So then that took us to the knockout stages where we faced off against Ajax. Again, we took the lead through Torre. Unfortunately, they hit back 2 minutes later. Just terrible defending from us. On the 60th minute, we hit back through Scott. Then they equalised in the 73rd minute to make it 2-0 on the night. So then that took us to the second leg where we were at home. They started off the scoring through Taylor. Just after half-time, we equalised through the big man Perillo. Palmer got on the score sheet through a penalty to make it 2-1. Then Big Parola added a second to the match to make it 3-1 to put us through. So that then took us to the quarterfinals where we faced off against Newcastle. They started off the scoring. Just before half-time, they made it 2-0. Then a minute later, we got back into the match to make it 2-1 to Newcastle on the night. But then we took them back to the King Power Stadium in the second leg and give them a good slapping. Rig with a nice ball in the Naipan. Switches across to Fresneda to make it 1-0. On the 77th minute, we then made it 2-0 with a nice ball across from Fatatua to Naipan. But we weren't finished then. On the 80th minute, we made it 3-0. McAtee into Job. Job across to Fatatua to make it 3-0 in the night to put us through. So then that took us on to the semi-finals where we faced off against Villarreal. They started the scoring on the 90th minute to make it 1-0 on the night. So then we took them back to the King Power Stadium. We started off the scoring through young Naipan. Then Bellingham made it 2-0 on the night. But Torre decided that wasn't enough and got himself on the score sheet in the 64th minute to take us to the final. So in the final, we faced off against Stuttgart. A mistake from them put us straight in the 52nd minute. Young Naipan made it 2-0 in the 64th. But we weren't done there. Christensen ran on down the line, hit it across the box to Scott to make it 3-0. But they did get a consolation goal in the 94th minute with a bit of a lapse in concentration. But we were already 3-1 up at this point. So boys, our first piece of silverware, our Europa League. I'm so happy. Honestly, I felt like we knocked out some good teams along the way. Like we put out Ajax in the round of 16 was the round of 16, and then we knocked out Newcastle after that, and then we also knocked out Villarreal. Stuttgart was probably our easiest match, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if we had got a Newcastle or a Villarreal like in the final, it could have went any way, because they did beat us in the first match, so we were lucky that we got those teams out of the way. I wouldn't say lucky, we played well, like we really did. Like, if you even look at the XG over here, we absolutely obliterated them in the final. I'm very, very happy with this. We did well in the league. Carabao Cup was a bit of a shit show. FA Cup, I'm pretty happy with. We got to the quarterfinals, and then we just won the Europa League, boys. Our first trophy in the bag. So then, with regards to the performances, Heidel has been a fantastic keeper. He really has, like, a really, really good purchase. Played 50 games, conceded 58, but like I said, when you're playing in the Premiership, just you're gonna concede goals. Like, you just really, really are. And especially if you're playing attacking like we are, you're gonna concede, but we're gonna score goals. 18 clean sheets, I'm gonna take that as a positive. Then young Dorgu played 35 games, 1 goal, 11 assists, and a 7.2 for the season. So a good season for him. Then his buddy on the other wing, young Fresneda, played 40 games, starting 12 off the bench, 4 goals, 14 assists, and an over 7 rating. Then young Zizi played 42 games, 2 goals. The big man Parola was absolutely nuts. Played 38 games, 13 off the bench, 10 goals, 4 assists, and an over 7 rating for a centre back. If he can score us 10 goals a season, that'd be fantastic. Also, who wants him? Oh, fuck off, not the Saudi League, boys. Caleb Bacolo still got a bunch of really good games. He has actually dropped down to not playing at a Premiership level, which is kind of wild. So he may be one that we look to kind of move on after this. Started 20 games, 33 off the bench, 1 goal. Young Callum Doyle, we only brought in January, started 13 games, 18 off the bench, 1 goal, 1 assist. Young Chris Rigg, I did actually end up playing quite a lot of this season. Obviously, still not playing at a Premiership level, so he needs a wee bit more time. Look, some people develop really, really early, and some people take a few more seasons. By the time he hits 21, 22, I could see him being a very, very good player. As you can see up here, he still has a ton of room to improve. 33 games, started 8 off the bench, 2 assists. The big man in beside him, Lewis Millie, had a couple of wee injuries, only really played 39 games, 5 assists, so... Then we also had young Naipan. He's currently just coming back from an injury. He looks absolutely fantastic. Started 33 games, 12 off the bench, 9 goals, 4 assists. Who wants him? Fuck Man City. That's not going to be fun. Young Mickey Muir, obviously another one that we only just brought in. He started 4 games, 1 off the bench, 3 goals. He actually had a 7.3 in the games that he played. And then the other big man, I really, really like this kid. I really do. Savatkovic. I'm fucking terrible with people's names. The good thing I like about this kid, one, he's only 20 years old. He didn't cost us a lot. He can play on both sides. Obviously, he'll show you the new formation after this, but the fact that having someone who's very, very versatile, can play up top and on both wings, is really handy. He started 26 games, 11 off the bench, 11 goals, and 5 assists. Then, of course, young Alex Scott actually played a lot of games. He started 51 games. This is obviously counting the games that he's played in the Premiership, because we only brought him in January. He didn't play 51 games from Christmas. You don't play that many. But he had 8 goals and 2 assists. Cole Palmer started 47 games, which is really, really good. For a guy that doesn't enjoy the big matches, I feel like doesn't enjoy the big matches doesn't affect players as much as the inconsistency trait does, because I've had a lot of players that don't enjoy the big games but still went on and played well. He had 21 goals, 17 assists, and an over 7 rating for the season for a dude that doesn't enjoy big games. I would say that's pretty well. I feel like the inconsistency trait hurts players a lot more than that doesn't enjoy big games. But a fucking blinder of a season, Cole Palmer. But honestly, I would say the guy of the season is surprisingly Pablo Torre. I ended up playing him a lot more than Naipan, mostly just because of like how well he played. He started 36 games. Start of the season, I was kind of weeding him in, throwing him into a few games here and there, because obviously the goal was to have Naipan playing behind the striker, but he got a couple of wee injuries, some suspensions, and then I was putting Torre in, and then it was just like, the kid's just scoring all the time, assisting all the time. 36 games started, 18 off the bench, 23 goals, 20 assists, and a 7.2 for the season. He had fucking 46 goal involvements in, say, 42 games. I think he may be starting next year. Then, of course, big Strand Larson, he knows that he's a fringe player. He's going to be a backup. He started 14 games, 17 off the bench, 10 goals, 2 assists. Then, of course, big Joe Bellingham, of course, I was playing him up top, but this is mostly just down to we don't really have another striker. Strand Larson kept getting injured all the time. That's why I was putting Job up there. Started 31 games. He played some in midfield as well. And then he had 10 goals, 4 assists. I feel like he's a fantastic player. We're definitely 100% going to keep around. I just don't think him as the main striker is the strategy to go. So this is the formation that I have switched to. It's a 4-2-3-1. Like I said, I asked everybody in the poll, look, do you want me to start switching up a wee bit of the formation stuff? Everybody was like, yes, look, we can only play so many 5 at the backs before you run out of tactics, and then you start seeing the same tactics and the same players all the time. So if with me switching formations, it does help me bring players in to refresh, because usually I don't play inside forwards, so I usually don't buy inside forwards. It's like, you're not going to play them. Where this way, also this tactic will be in the pinned comments down below. This is fucking fantastic. This is probably one of the only attacking tactics that I've used personally. I'm sure there's a ton out there that you just do very, very, I wouldn't say, like, you look at our team, Regan Millie aren't even playing at a Premiership level yet, and they did fantastic. Toure, I wouldn't say he's an outstanding player. He's got some good technical attributes. Palmer is okay in this FM. Obviously, in the next FM, he's going to be unreal. Scott is very, very good. We don't even have, like, Larson. Larson is a good striker. He is a good striker, but he's not even playing at a fucking Premiership level, and Job isn't a striker, and we scored more goals than everybody in the Premiership. So if we get a really, really good, big physical striker up top, I think next year we're going to be really... We were dangerous this year. I think we're going to be very dangerous next year. But this tactic is fantastic. I also love playing 2 DMs. I really, really do. But this is the formation that I settled on for this save. Like I said, this will be in the pinned comments down below and the person's channel who owns the tactic, of course. I always like to try and give credit to people. But look, I honestly believe we had a fantastic season. Finished in Champions League football, which is fantastic. Even if we didn't finish in Champions League football, we would be in the Champions League next year anyway, because we won the Europa League. Carabao Cup, we do need to get better. And then, of course, in the FA Cup, we got to the quarterfinals. But all in all, boys, I think we had an absolutely fantastic season. But how much do we get for a transfer budget? So we ended up getting 43 million. We can do some damage with that. There's also a few players, obviously, I want to try and move on a little bit. So we could probably scrape this up. Obviously, if somebody comes in for Naipan, look, Man City are interested in him. Chelsea's interested in him. I'm sure the Saudi League will probably come in at some point. But, like, if I don't want to sell Naipan, but, like, if Man City come in, I can't really stop them going, because even though we did fantastic in the league, they just have a better reputation. So hopefully we can keep a hold of Naipan, but if worse comes to worse, look, I want at least 60, 70 million for him. At least the kid is unreal. But 43 million, we can get a good striker in for that. So, boys, we are now in season 4. I'm not going to lie to you. I actually had to look at the video files. I actually thought this was only season 3. This is what happens, seeing you don't play a couple of days in between things. But anyway, joking aside, look, I knew it was season 4. But one thing we did need to do with this squad is we needed to strengthen. Going into the Champions League this year, we're going to be playing against way better quality. We can't get away with playing like kids in midfield and stuff. Like, we're going to get punished quite heavily for that. So I have had to bolster the squad. We did lose somebody that I didn't want to lose, but we talked about it previously that we knew there's a chance they may go. And that person was young Naipan. It wasn't to the team we thought it was going to be. They ended up going to Newcastle. Newcastle come in and offered a little bit of cash. I said no. It was like 48 million. I laughed it off. And then he once again got upsetty spaghetti, which I don't understand, because we finished very far ahead of Newcastle. But once again, the whole reputation thing comes into play. So a player I didn't obviously want to lose, but we do have people that can play in that position. So we kind of are. If we're going to lose somebody, it's going to be that position. It's a wee bit easier to sort of recover from. But they give us 74 million up front, totaling up to 98 million. So look, not bad for a player that we bought for what, 4.5 million a couple seasons ago, sold him on for 98 million. So then I also brought in young Harvey Elliott. He was actually on the transfer list, but he seems to be on the transfer list quite a lot for Liverpool. Obviously, with them having Mo Salah and stuff, it's hard for him probably to get into the team. But we did end up bringing him in. He was transfer listed for 23 million. Look, this is fantastic. Look, we just got 98 million for Naipan, so I think we're okay to splash a little bit of cash. He is very, very good. Still only 24. He's English, got a good mentality, super consistent. Look, he's got a lot of really, really good mental stats and technical stats. Is he going to start? Probably not every game, but he is going to get a lot of football. Obviously going to work on his weaker foot, because I want him to be able to play reasonably well with both feet. But look, for 23 million, a really good addition to the squad. Then another one I brought in, this one, look, we probably overpaid, but once again, it's an English player coming from an English club. I needed a bit more quality and depth at left back. Look, we only have like Dorku, and then the other guy, Christensen, he wants to leave, so like we have nobody there. Look, I paid a total of 14 million. Look, is it probably a lot? Yeah, Harry Mass, he's got a decent amount of potential. He can get anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 star. Look, he's going to be a backup for Dorgu. It also, once again, helps us with registration, having a bunch of English players in the squad. got a good mentality. He's consistent. He's still only 20 years old. He's got room to improve. He actually ends up being very, very good. Obviously, some saves he's good, some he's not. We seem to have got the better version of him. And like I said, we just need a wee bit of squad depth. But the big one I brought in, no pun intended, because he is 6'7", is I brought in Lorenzo Luca. Like I said, I wanted a wee bit more grit and a bit more sort of va-va-voom up top. Look, 6'7", 19 jumping reach, 17 heading. The man is going to score so many fucking goals from corners. He's also got a good mentality. He's consistent. He enjoys the big games. He's still only 26. We had to pay a total of 34 million, but look, even with ban him and Harvey Elliott and the next guy I'm going to show you, we still didn't spend more money than what we got for Naipan. So we pretty much brought in like 3 or 4 players for the price that we sold Naipan for, which is what we want because we want that more squad depth. But on top of that, look, he's got good first touch as well. Passing is relatively decent. His vision is good. His technique is good. Teamwork and work rate is solid. Determination is good. Mental stats are solid. And like I said, with that 19 jumping reach and 17 heading, the man, honestly, in this formation with our corner routine and stuff, I could see him hitting at least 40 goals this year. And then this is somebody that I brought in. He's currently on loan because he's not that long in his team and he doesn't want to sign for us straight away. So we've loaned him in. Agent feedback from this club here. Estoril Praia. Look, I don't know who the hell they are, but this kid has some serious potential. But in the loan deal, look, 20.5 million, I think this is a fair deal because he has a buyer clause of 20 million. So we know it just works out. But a good mentality, super consistent. Kid's only 18. He's 6'2", 15 crossing, 15 dribbling, 16 finishing, 16 first touch, 15 passing, 16 technique, vision of 15. Flair of 15, 16 decision making, 13 composure, 12 anticipation. Mental stats are solid, play reasonably well both feet. So he's one going to bring in a ton of football. Obviously in January or near the end of the season, we just offer him a deal, bring him into the team. Hopefully he wants to sign for us. Look, this is the thing. We need to try and get these fucking players before the likes of Man City and like all the big clubs get them. I know technically I would say we're a big club now. Look, we're working our way up. First year in the Champions League, I don't know if we can call ourselves a big club, but like we need to get in there before like the Arsenals, the Man Uniteds, the Man Cities, the Liverpools, the Chelseas, before they get in there. And if we have to pay 20 million for a kid down the line that is unreal, I'm happy enough for that. The only things I'm going to work on is his acceleration and pace aren't fantastic. Look, I'm not going to make him good in the air. He's just not going to be one of those players, but I can make him a wee bit quicker because he's already got the technical stats. If we can just make him a little faster, kid's going to be lethal. So that is everybody in the door and everybody out the door. As you can see over here, look, the squad is starting to look a lot better. Like even if I add Christensen's up there and I add Casey McAteer up there, squad's looking good. This is what I'm happy with. Look, Heidel, Dorgu, Zizi, Parola, Fresneda. I'm going to put Jude in here. Obviously, Chris Rigg is going to play a lot of football, but it's taking Chris Rigg a wee bit longer to sort of develop, so I'm going to get him a wee bit more football. But for the meantime, I'm going to put Jude in here. I wish I had fucking Jude in here. I'm going to put Job in here and Miley. I wonder if he gets that a lot, if any of the two of them, that ever happens to them. It probably happened to Job more than it happened to Jude. I wonder if they get called each other's names. And then Scott Toure will be playing in here. Look, the kid earned it with his performances last year. I think we keep him in here for the season. And obviously, with the big man up top, it's going to be devastating. Palmer, honestly, Arsenal come in and offered us 68.5 million. I said no. He didn't say anything, so that's absolutely fantastic because I don't want to lose Palmer. But then we've a Cody, Doyle, Rigg, Elliott, that guy I'm not going to try and pronounce, Daniel Silva, the wee kid, Mickey Moore, Amas, Gore, Larson, McAtee. We've got Fatayo, Christensen, and McAtee. Our squad is looking good, boys. And like we still have, like I've still 29 million left in the transfer budget. I could move that across because I put some in the wages. Oh, Mark Gahey went and signed for PSG. I offered him a contract. He actually let us get to the point where we could actually offer him a contract. He said, yes, want to be a star player, £150,000 a week. And then like 2 days later, PSG came in. Nobody offered for him. He was out of contract. No one fucking offered for him until we offered for him. And then 2 days later, they went in for him and got him. Obviously, this would have been a fantastic player to have, and his English helps with registration. We got him on a free, but our backline's pretty solid. Look, we didn't need him. It was just one of those ones. It'd have been super nice to have him. But boys, I'm very, very happy with the team that we have built. Honestly, I'd say we can win the Premiership. Maybe not this year. maybe next year or the year after. Look, we're going to need a wee bit of development. Still, some of our young players still need a wee bit of work and stuff. But like I would say, honestly, even with Big Luke up top, it's a massive addition to the team. Like it really, really is. That he will bring so much physicality to our front line. It's just going to be so hard for people. Like 6'7" with 19 jumping reach is absolutely insane. I'm hoping he scores an absolute bucket load of goals. But boys, that's enough rambling. Like I said, I'll bring you back in January for the approach of science if there's anybody decent. Our last 2 youth intakes have not been great, so I'm hoping this April we can get a better youth intake. I have once again asked the board to increase our youth recruitment. They said no again, so I'm going to ask them in January again. I don't know why they don't want to give us it, but anyway, that's enough rambling. Let's go play season 4. So we've got to the January transfer window. There's nobody interested on the approach of science that I'm honestly interested in signing. I'm happy with the squad, but we have lost a few players. As you can probably see by the picture here, we've lost Fresneda, Bayern Munich. Let's be honest, we're Leicester. There's not really much I can do about this. They come in, offered us 46 million, working its way up to 58. So a player that we bought for 18 million, we sold on for 58 million. Not a player I wanted to lose, but it's one of those ones I can deal with this type of player. So then the next person out the door was Abdul Fatatua. Look, I've been trying to get rid of this guy for absolute ages. Every time I offer him out, we get a good deal, and then he rejects the club. But Burnley came in and offered in January there. They offered him 24 million. I bit their hand off and took it. So between the money we got for Fresneda and the money we got for him, we're looking pretty good money-wise. On top of that, Real Madrid also come in and offered for Victor Christensen. This is one that was already agreed for a while. It just took a while to go through in January. This is the reason why I wanted to bring in Harry Mas, because there was so much people wanting him. And look, I don't know why he went to Real Madrid. There was Real Madrid, who was I think the other ones, like Lille and a couple of other like smaller clubs where he would have actually got some football, where he's going to go to Real Madrid and sit as probably like second or third choice. But anyway, we got 15 million for him. So then I went out and got us a young centre back. This is one that's going to probably sit in the under 21s, or I'm going to try and loan out a little bit. Look, young Italian guy. We brought him in for a total of 7.5 million. He's already valued at 20 to 25. This one was just agreed at the start of January. But look, good tackling, good positioning, 19 determination, bravery's good, 6'3", can play with both feet, get a fantastic mentality, super consistent, playing a 2-star, anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5. Look, if he gets a 3.5 star defender, gets another 1.5 better than this, he probably be good enough to be in the first team or be like a really, really good squad player. And for 7.5 million, there's not really much risk. Then another one I brought in, obviously with Fresneda going out the door, we needed a fullback. So I brought in this young guy. Look, he can play, can't technically play on both sides yet, but I'm going to train him to play on both sides. He can play fantastically with both feet. English, he's on loan from Man City. He does also have an optional fee of 38.5 million. I will see how he plays. And then probably more likely going to activate this because he's English, he's 18, he can play with both feet. First touch is already fucking 16. I'm working on his dribbling, because we can get his dribbling up to like 13 or 14. It doesn't even have to be crazy. He's already got good first touch. Technique solid. Marking is really, really good. Like I said, that 20 determination, decision making is good, concentration good, bravery, really good anticipation. Physical stats are insane. Natural fitness is a little low, but he's only 18. This may go up with time. But the main thing is he's got a really good mentality, he's consistent, and he's English. And you know yourselves, trying to find really, really good English fullbacks, it's expensive. And for 38 million with the amount of players that we just sold, technically if you look at it this way, Fresneda went out the door for 58, we buy him for 38, we technically made 20 million. So on top of that, I have also confirmed the signing of Daniel Silva. It's the wee guy that was in on loan. We had the optional fee for 20 million. I have activated this, and then 2 days later he got injured. Into the injury list, as you can see, you get a thorn thigh muscle. A torn thigh muscle. Put him out for 5 weeks. He's been out for a lot longer, not between recovery and stuff, so it's been a wee bit of a pain in the ass. So we lost him for like 7 to 8 weeks as soon as I signed him. I probably should have waited, and then maybe he wouldn't have got signed, but he's one, look, I definitely wanted to get in the door, and for 20 million he will be very, very good. But obviously I'm going to need to strengthen the squad probably a wee bit more. I'm also going to look and see who's on the next gen list this year, because if you look at the money we have, dude, I have 111 million still left. So like I would like to bring this in to bolster squad. Obviously I would love to bring in somebody like Rico Lewis to play on as right back, but like he's at Spurs. Do you want to see how much money they got him for? 25 million. Why would Man City sell Rico Lewis? I would love to get him in, but you're talking like easily 85 to 100 million. So boys, we're at the end of season 4. We have done very, very well. Like I said, being able to control the team a wee bit more. Obviously, I don't play the matches, but just being in control of who plays that day, it makes things a little easier. Obviously, switching to a 4-2-3-1 does help out a little bit, because you know you've got a lot of players going forward. But I think we've had a fantastic season. Let's jump over and see how we did in the league. So we started the season off really strong with a nice win over Man United. Torre got on the score sheet to make it 1-0. A fantastic run from Dorgu, a ball into the box. Big Luca hit the post, and Palmer was there to make it 2-0. Dorgu then made it 3. Lorenzo Luca made it 4. And then, of course, from another corner, the big man made it 5-0 to get his second goal of the game. We then had a very, very hard-fought game against Liverpool. I'm not telling you to score just yet, but we started things off with Big Larson. They hit back straight away through Victor Osimhen. Then young Fresneda made it 2-1. Then Job made it 3-1. Then Dorgu scored an OG off Sotulo. They hit back straight away through Osimhen to make it 4-3 on the night to us. But then after all those great wins, we did fantastic against most teams. We got brought down to earth by Man City. They ended up beating us 3-0. Phil Foden starting to scoring. Erling Haaland made it 2. And then Matthias ran through the whole pitch to make it 3-0. But even with spanking us 3-0, Man City couldn't stop us winning the league. I'm not gonna lie, boys. Nobody is more surprised right now than I am. We just got a good run of games, but on top of that, we didn't lose a lot. We drew a lot of games. As you can see, we drew 11 games, but the teams around us just lost a lot. As you can see, we played 38 games, 24 wins, 11 draws, 3 losses, 52 goal difference, and 83 points. We actually won the league on the last day. We were second, Liverpool were first, and then Liverpool drew to Aston Villa, and we won against Norwich, and we basically ended up winning the league on the last day of the season. But as you can see, look, the teams around us, Liverpool lost 8, Arsenal lost 8, Man City lost 8, Man United lost 8, Chelsea lost 10. So like on top of us playing reasonably well and not losing a lot of games but drawing a lot of games, the teams around us dropping a lot of points from losing actually really helped us out. But the main thing that makes me so happy here is big Lorenzo Luca in his first season, 25 league goals. He's only 6 behind Erling Haaland, which is absolutely wild. Then Cole Palmer over here with the top assists. Toure right behind him with 14 and 13. Chris Rigg has 15 yellow cards. He's number 1. Like I said, if you're going to get booked, at least be top of the charts. But the team stats, I'm hoping this looks a lot better. Most points per game. There's a lot of Leicester in here, which is nice to see. Most points per game is us. We're pretty close. Liverpool and Arsenal are pretty close behind us. Most goals, we scored 91. We were 5 ahead of Liverpool. Most shots for was us by a few here and there, and then few shots against. We were down at 8th, but we are playing very, very attacking. Look, we're going to score a lot of goals, but we're going to concede goals too. Most clean sheets. Look, I'm down there. We had 12 clean sheets in the Premiership. I'm pretty happy with that. Fewest conceded. We were down there in 6th, 39. I can't remember. We conceded, was it 42 or 43 last year? So our defense is improving. Obviously, we have a lot of young players in the team, but look, to win the league in the 4th season is absolutely fantastic. This is what my goal was, to just keep playing until we won the league with Leicester, and doing it in 4 years has been absolutely amazing. We have built a really, really good team. We have a lot of really, really good young players, but how do we do in the cups? So we start things off in the Carabao Cup quarter-final against Watford. We actually started off the scoring through young Scott, of all things a header. Then the big man who usually scores all our headers, Lorenzo Luca, made it 2-0 from a corner. Young Torre then made it 3. In the 94th minute, they got a consolation goal, but we were already through. So then that took us to the semi-final first leg against Arsenal, where once again, we started off the scoring through big Lorenzo Luca. A nice ball in from Rigg. On the 60th minute, we made it 2-0 through young Pablo Torre. In the 84th minute, Apenda made it 2-1 on the night. Then that took us to the second leg, where Odegaard got a penalty to make it 1-0. Big Lorenzo Luca hit back, surprise, from a corner to make it 1 each. Young Harry Mas got a goal. Then the 64th minute, they got an equaliser to make it 2 each on the night, but we were already through from the win in the first leg, 2-1. So that takes us to the Carabao Cup final. where we faced off against Man United. We actually give a good account of ourselves, and we actually started off the scoring. A great run from Amas, a ball into Luca. Of course, it was a header. They hit back 10 minutes later through, of all people, Manuel Ugarte. Bruno Fernandes made it 2-1 when we give away a penalty. But then big Lorenzo Luca hit back to make it 2 each. Terrible keeping, but we'll say nothing. But unfortunately, on the 81st minute, they made it 3-2. Who once again, through Manuel Ugarte, but at least we made it to a final. Like, don't get me wrong, boys, getting to a final is a little... Look, if you get to the final, you want to win. But we got there, we give a good account of ourselves. Look, after already winning the league and then getting ourselves to a Carabao Cup final, I'm very, very happy with this. It's a massive increase from last year's Carabao Cup. We're not going to talk about it. But let's see how we did in the FA Cup. So we start things off in the quarterfinals, and we're playing against West Ham. We actually started off the scoring through Young Silva. They hit back 10 minutes later. Then with a great run from Dorgu, he actually made it 2-1. With an absolute howler from their goalkeeper, let Lorenzo Luca in to make it 3-1. That was my keeper out of shot him. Then in the 80th minute, Young Rid made it 4-1. Then that took us to the semi-finals where we faced off against Man City. They actually started off the scoring, shocker, through Erling Haaland. Patrick Dorgu made it 2-0. I don't know what our keeper was doing. But we weren't out of the fight yet. We got back into it on the 30th minute through Young Tory. Then just before half-time with a good deflection, it made it 2 each. But unfortunately, that's where our run ended. We ended up going out in penalties. As you know, the penalties is a wee bit fucky, so it doesn't show you them all. Holland missed for them, and then we had Torre and Rig miss for us. Gore miss for us. This is just unfortunate. Look, going out to penalties, but look, we made it the assembly. Look, we won the league, made it the Carabao Cup final, made it the semi-final of an FA Cup. I am very, very happy right now. This is exactly where I wanted the team to be. Just, we've built a solid squad and a bunch of really young players that are super capable, but that leaves one more competition. Champions League. So then that jumped us into the Champions League phase, where we didn't start too great. We ended up getting beat 1-0 in our first match by Borussia Mönchengladbach. But we did redeem ourselves with a 3-2 victory over Galatasaray. Then we also slapped Rennes 4-1, a Mega Luke's favourite team. We drew away to Porto 2 each. Had a fantastic win over Bayern Munich. We also beat Sevilla 1-0. Had a hard-fought game away to Leipzig, beating them 3-2. And then in our final league phase match, we drew with Ajax. But we had already qualified by then. We ended up finishing 6th. This is absolutely fantastic. Look, we're in and around Atalanta, Man City, PSG, Liverpool, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Napoli. Look, we're not meant to be here, boys. But that took us to the round of 16 where we faced off against Benfica. They actually started the scoring on the 67th minute. But in good old Leicester fashion, we hit back 10 minutes later. Elliott with a nice ball across the box. Young Toure just there waiting. I was making it 1 each on the night. Then that took us to the second leg in the King Power Stadium, where we actually went 1-0 down within 39 minutes through Rego. But like I said, this team never gives up. With a nice ball in from Elliott, Parola made it 1 each on the night, where we actually ended up winning on penalties. Once again, like I said, the penalties are a little fucky. It went 8-7 on penalties for us to win, which took us to the quarterfinals, where we faced off against Chelsea in the first leg at Stamford Bridge. They also have young Simic, who's fantastic. With a whip ball across, Raheem Sterling. You know it's a bad night when Raheem Sterling scores past you. But then we hit back through young Scott to make it 1 each on the night. But in the second leg, that's where things kind of heated up a little bit. We actually started off the scoring with our young wonder kid, Lorenzo. Chelsea hit back straight away through Simic. On the 53rd minute, they scored from a corner. In the 53rd minute, with an absolute blunder from us, I don't know what we were doing, Simic made a 3-1. In the 64th minute, then we got a lifeline with a ZZ corner. But that's unfortunately where our Champions League ended. Look, we get beat 3-2 by Chelsea, 3-4 on aggregate. I'm pretty happy with this. Look, we have done amazing this year. Won the league, got the Carabao Cup final, semi-final of the FA Cup, quarter-final of the Champions League. Like I said, this is where I wanted to take Leicester. just bring them back. Obviously, they were never amazing in the Champions League, but look, we've done pretty well. Young Heidel, 59 games played. He did concede 64 goals, but like I said, we are playing very, very attacking. But he had 15 clean sheets, still only 27 years old. Young Patrick Dorgu, still only 23, played 45 games, 6 goals, 10 assists. Then young Ferdinand played 31 games, no goals, but he did get 7 assists. ZZ had a few injuries this season, only played 37 games, but got himself 3 goals. He got goals in big games when we needed him. Then Big Parola, it's been an absolute nightmare trying to hold on to him. Everybody wants him. Real Madrid wanted him at one point. I said no, he got upset. As you can see, still upset now. Played 48 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. He's not going anywhere. He's too good to let go. Then young Lewis Millie, 44 games played, 1 goal, 5 assists, but he is playing as a defensive midfielder. Then young Alex Scott, I actually ended up moving him into the defensive midfielder role about halfway through the season. It just kind of suited where he was playing. He started 41 games, 11 off the bench, 3 goals, 6 assists. A lot of the squad is currently upset because Lewis Millie has decided that there's not enough cover at right back, so he's upset. So about 6 people are upset, but it's nothing major. It's something we can handle. Then Cole Palmer with another very, very good season. Played 45 games, 14 goals, 17 assists. So what's that, 31 goal involvements in 45 games? Not bad for a guy that doesn't enjoy the big games. Then, of course, young Toure, he did actually have a few injuries. He only started 40 games, 10 off the bench, 15 goals, 16 assists. So 31 goal involvements in 40 games is insane. And because Scott was playing in defensive midfielder is the reason why, because I wanted to play Daniel Silva as that inside forward on the left-hand side. Obviously, still not playing at a massive Premiership level, but he's only 18 years old. But the only way he's going to get better is if we play him. 20 games started, 8 goals. 2 games off the bench, 8 goals, 3 assists. And then, of course, the big man up top, Lorenzo Luca, 46 games started, 45 goals, 2 assists, and a 7.4 for the season. But also people who did very, very well for the season was also Harvey Elliott. Another one you could start if you wanted. 26 games started, 15 off the bench, 6 goals, 12 assists. Of course, young Chris Rigg still there as well. 28 games started, 26 off the bench, 6 goals, 4 assists, mostly starting in defensive midfield. But he's looking very, very good. He could also improve significantly. I think he's going to get a lot better. Like I said, he's one of those ones that's just a bit of a late bloomer. We say late bloomer when the kid's fucking 20 years old. Like, he's near done. If he hasn't progressed now, we may as well shoot him. Joe Bellingham also playing a lot of games. 42 games started, 10 off the bench, 4 goals, 3 assists. Another one, like I said, playing in defensive midfield. Then the big man, Rafael Lozano, looks 6'3". He's honestly, I would say in the long term, he's going to be a fantastic replacement for Lorenzo Luca. One that would probably look to loan out. I think he's good enough to get a really, really good loan deal. And I think look, 3 games started, 3 off the bench. I know he only came in January, 2 goals, 1 assist. But he's one of those ones I want playing 25, 35, 40 games for the next couple of seasons to get a wee bit of football. But he's another one I'm very, very excited. I think he could be phenomenal. But this is what the team looks like at the end of the season. Like I said, this team is really, really good. And like the players you have down here are absolutely fantastic. Gore, Bellingham, Rigg, Amas. You know what I mean? You've still Mickey Moore, another one I do want to get on loan at some point. But like, this team is absolutely fantastic. We also have a lot of really, really good players in the under 21s and the under 19s. I think I'm very, very happy with what we've done with this team. I think this is where we stop this. Usually I go for like 5 or 6 seasons because that's how long it usually takes to do these rebuilds. But I feel like with Leicester, honestly, no joking aside, a lot of people say that it's harder to win the Premiership and the Champions League. I'm the other way. I do actually do really well in the Premiership. Can't win the fucking Champions League though. It's an absolute nightmare for me. But like I said, I've achieved my goal of what I want to do with Leicester. Win the league, get us back into the Champions League, build a fantastic team for the future, and I think we've done that. We've also filled it with a lot of young English players as well, which has made me very, very happy because Ferdinand's in there, Millie's in there, Scott's in there, you've also got Palmer in there. This could, of course, be Harvey Elliott, and then you also still have Harvey Elliott, like I said, down there, James McAtee, Callum Doyle, Dan Gore, Bellingham, Rigg, Amas, Mickey Moore. There's a lot of really, really good young English players in this team, and that's what I kind of want. Every country I go to, that's what I want to start doing with these big rebuilds in one video. I want to start trying to bring talent from each country in instead of just ban the best young players. Look, we're very, very deep into the FM24 cycle. We all know who the good players are. We all know who we want to bring in. Look, sometimes you bring in the ones that you can't help bring in. Look, you know, I do it too. Fabian, the Bast, you know what I mean? Dennis Seaman. We all bring in our favourites. That's why I think going to countries, I'm trying to bring in the talent from that country makes things a wee bit more interesting. It kind of does limit who you can bring in, but like that makes it a wee bit more exciting, because then when you win with young players from that country, it's just so much fun. But like I said, boys, I think this is a fantastic spot to stop off for the save. I usually don't stop this early, but I've achieved everything I want to achieve with this team. And then it means now when you take the save on, because everything will be in the pinned comments down below, you take the save on, you can try and do better than me, win the Champions League. But everybody, thank you so much for all the love and support in these. Like, and I say this every video when I do 3 Minute Man. I get to sit down and fucking play Football Manager and entertain a bunch of people. You seem to be enjoying these longer rebuilds in one video, like one video a week. Look, it gives me time. These videos do take a long time, because with me playing the games, you're probably talking like 8 to 10 hours per season. So you're talking anywhere from like 40 to 45 hours a week for me to sort of get these done. And then the editing takes probably like, I don't know, 5 to 6 hours, depending on how long it takes me to sit in my chair crying. I don't enjoy editing. I'm not one of those people. I don't enjoy it. But it's nice to get to the end and the video comes together and then I get to see how we've done. But like I said, I appreciate all the support on the videos. Like I said, if you like these videos, remember to like and comment. It really does help with the algorithm and help push YouTube, get YouTube to push our videos out, because we're absolutely blown up. Like, the channel is doing really well. I'm having a great time. Like I said, the community page, the next save we'll be doing will be with Borussia Dortmund. It was between Borussia Dortmund, Sevilla, oh god, who was the other ones? Benfica and Roma, and you just wanted to see Borussia Dortmund. Of course, Borussia Dortmund not doing great at the minute. They're like 20 points off. They're sitting in like 11th position. So unfortunately, need a wee bit of help. But boys, appreciate all the support in the series so far. This has been an absolute blast. That is going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Only if you fucking want to on YouTube. I think we did well with Leicester.